flexor accessorius, and last of all, flexor digitorum brevis. Now that we've seen all the muscles of the foot, let's get a complete picture of the layer of deep fascia that encloses them all, the plantar fascia. The central thickened part of the plantar fascia is the plantar aponeurosis, which we've seen already. The medial and lateral parts of the plantar fascia extend on each side of the plantar aponeurosis. On the medial side, the plantar fascia covers abductor hallucis. On the lateral side, it covers abductor digiti minimi. Here on the lateral side, there's a marked thickening of the plantar fascia called the lateral chord of the plantar aponeurosis, which goes from here on the calcaneus to here on the base of the fifth metatarsal. The lateral chord of the plantar aponeurosis helps to support the longitudinal arch of the foot on the lateral side. We've seen all the muscles of the foot. Let's review them before we move on to look at the blood vessels and nerves of the foot. Here's extensor digitorum longus, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum brevis, and hallucis brevis. On the back, here's flexor digitorum longus and flexor hallucis longus. Here are the interosseous muscles, the lumbricals, flexor accessorius, and flexor digitorum brevis. Here's abductor hallucis, flexor hallucis brevis, and adductor hallucis. And lastly, here are abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi brevis. Now we'll look at the blood vessels and nerves of the foot, starting with the veins. The superficial veins of the lateral aspect of the foot join together to form the short saphenous vein. The ones on the medial aspect of the foot join together to form the long saphenous vein. In addition, at a deeper level, the arteries, which we'll be looking at next, are closely accompanied by concomitant veins like these. From here on, we'll remove all the concomitant veins to simplify the picture. We last saw the anterior and posterior tibial arteries entering the foot beneath the extensor retinaculum and flexor retinaculum, respectively. Here's the anterior tibial artery at the ankle, passing beneath the extensor retinaculum. We'll remove the retinaculum. As it passes in front of the ankle, the anterior tibial artery crosses beneath extensor hallucis longus, emerging lateral to it. It gives off branches to the tarsal region, then continues on to the dorsum of the foot. Beyond this point, it's known as the dorsalis pedis artery. The dorsalis pedis artery passes beneath the extensor hallucis brevis muscle, gives off this first dorsal metatarsal artery, and ends by diving through the first interosseous muscle to join up with the lateral plantar artery, which we'll see in a minute. Now we'll look at the posterior tibial artery, or rather at its two terminal branches, the medial plantar and lateral plantar arteries. Here's where we saw them last, emerging from under the flexor retinaculum, the lower part of which has been removed in this dissection. Also removed are the abductor hallucis muscle here and the plantar aponeurosis here. This is the distal end of the posterior tibial artery. This is the lateral plantar artery. This is the medial plantar artery. The medial plantar artery is usually the smaller of the two. It crosses over the tendons of the two long toe flexors and runs along the medial side of the foot. Its branches supply the adjoining muscles and the underside of the big toe. Now we'll look at the lateral plantar artery. It passes deep to flexor digitorum brevis, which we'll remove. After giving off this calcaneal branch, the lateral plantar artery passes downwards and then laterally across flexor accessorius. When it reaches the base of the fifth metatarsal, which is here, it curves around and passes deep to flexor digitorum longus and the interosseous muscles to join up with the dorsalis pedis artery. Now we'll look at the nerves of the foot. We'll follow the nerves that we saw in the last section, the superficial and deep peroneal nerves and the medial and lateral plantar nerves. There are two more nerves that we'll also look at for completeness, the sural nerve and the saphenous nerve. We'll start with the two peroneal nerves. The superficial peroneal nerve runs down in front of the lateral side of the ankle and breaks up into several branches.